Author is funded by the Pacific Northwest Writers Association, supporting writers from pen to publication since 1955. To learn more about the PNWA and their yearly conference, please go to pnwa.org. Hi, this is Bill Kenower of Author Magazine, and I'm here at the Pacific Northwest Writers Cottage in Gilman Village with Maureen Francisco, author of It Takes Moxie. Maureen, welcome to Author.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
So, It Takes Moxie. That's the name of the book. And you obviously have it in spades, and in your young life you've had lots of successes in one way or another. So my first question to you is, why write the book?
So I was motivated to write this book because I was having a conversation with friends who told me there are no more opportunities in this country. America is tanking. Right. And I told them, hold on here, let me tell you a story. My grandmother came here in her 50s, never had work experience, like real work experience where she was paid with a paycheck with benefits. She came to this country in her 50s, not college educated, and was able to get a job right after she received her work permit. She worked at a hotel in the laundry department and was able to support her 9 children and 40-some grandchildren. She was not looking for a handout. She was looking for a way to be accountable and support her family. So I told my friends, yes, there are opportunities out there. You have to look for them, and sometimes these opportunities are not glamorous today, but down the road it's a stepping stone for something bigger.
So that was where it began, but this was the first book you'd ever written, was it not?
Correct. It took me 5 years rewriting, writing, changing the concept, interviewing amazing people who I met, and I'm thinking, wow, if people just had an insight into their lives and what they went through, not just mine, but other people, perhaps they can look at themselves and go, what else can I do? How can I be a blessing to this world?
Right, and so you want to try to inspire people.
Exactly, kind of chicken soup for the soul
feeling,
but using immigrant stories, successful immigrants, and people who came from humble beginnings.
But of course, one of the challenges of the immigrant is to learn the language if you didn't learn it in your home country. Now, did you come to America being fluent in English?
I wasn't, and I remember being teased with my peers, with my classmates, because I could not express myself. And I often fell behind in school because I could not keep up with what the teacher was saying. So in the middle of my first grade year, I was transferred to another school where it specialized in English as a second language.
So how did you keep your self-esteem during that period? Because I would think it'd be very easy to be down on yourself at that point, just because you can't say what you mean to say.
So as a kid, I was 5 years old, and you want to feel accepted. You want to feel accepted with your teachers, with your community, with other students. So I told myself, I don't like how I'm feeling right now. I don't feel like I'm good enough. So how am I going to compensate for that? I'm going to work hard and make sure I exceed. So when I went to that other school, English as a second language, I would not only practice how to speak English in school, but after school as well. When I came home, I would watch the news. I would turn on the newscasts, and I would listen to the anchors and the reporters and listen how they spoke, how they articulated certain words, how they expressed themselves. So I was very, very eager to make sure that I knew how to speak the language well, because I didn't want to be teased anymore.
And this led, actually, it sounds like this was the beginning of your interest in a career in journalism, which is what your first career out of college, wasn't it?
Yes, so in high school, I did a pageant, and I remember one of the local reporters doing a story on me, and I remember thinking, wow, what a fascinating job. She interviews people who have fascinating lives, and I was thinking, could I see myself do that? And I said, absolutely. So it's interesting, I came to this country barely able to express myself, and I spent 5 years after college living all over the country, from Yakima, Washington, to Savannah, Georgia, to Flint, Michigan, and back to Seattle, interviewing amazing and interesting people. So I thought it was an interesting
And making your living
circle.
expressing yourself.
Yes, that's why I think it's so ironic how, again, I came to this country, I was teased by kids, And here I am being interviewed right now by you. It's just a full circle moment. And I want people to know that if they are not happy with their current situation, it doesn't have to be their future. They can change it, and they have complete power and control to do that.
That's great. You know, we're sitting in the offices of the Pacific Northwest Writers Association, and I know that the PNWA was a part of you getting this, helping you learn how to just get a book published. How was it instrumental, the conference and the organization in general?
So I went to one workshop, just one.
Okay.
I remember, and it did so much for me. One of the workshops, we talked about editing, the importance of having a good manuscript that's well edited. And what a lot of writers do is they'll write a manuscript, they'll maybe have their friends and family edit, but they have to understand that's not a professional editor, someone who actually gets paid to edit, look for mistakes, look for where there's a disconnect in the stories. So again, it was a workshop, it was a support system. I would read the newsletters, even though if I did not attend the workshop,
Right.
I would read just little tips, hiring an editor. Maybe you might want to look into having a video regarding this book, building a platform, just even one newsletter or two or three. I would often check the website and see who you would have speak and Google that person and just take their advice.
You know, it sounds to me like your natural inclination is one of student, and so it seems like you embrace that role easily, and so it sounds like you took that approach with the writing, whereas I'm going to be a student of this, and I'm going to learn, and maybe your ego wasn't as tied up in the experience as many writers find their egos to be.
Bill, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I am a student today still, and I want people to actually look at themselves and ask themselves, am I a student? Because if you're not being a student, that means you've stopped learning. I am watching you, and I'm watching how you conduct interviews, and I'm thinking, ooh, I like what he's doing. He's making it so conversational, making me feel so relaxed. So you're right, I'm constantly a student, not only with this, with my writing, with exercising, what can I do to make myself look better at work? And I think that's really important for people. Some people think, oh, I know it all. I don't need any advice. And in reality, they have not given themselves an honest assessment because somebody else would think, you know what, actually you can improve here and there. So I'm actually very open to feedback. Now, do I take every feedback? No. But I listen and I learn and I actually take myself out of the equation and go, why is that person saying that?
All right, so this is your first book. What was the most challenging part of it? What was the thing that took you the longest to learn?
Okay, so the most challenging part of writing this book was letting it go. When I say that, I rewrote it so many times. I'm thinking, okay, do I have every interview possible? Should I write it from a different angle? And I would write it, rewrite it, write it again, different concept. And it got to a point where the publisher said, stop. You've done everything you possibly can. We're going to hit print. I did everything I possibly could. And it was really hard for me to just trust the process. And this is my resume to the world. And have I done enough? And will people like it? You know, when you open your soul, you just want to make sure that you've done everything you can.
I've got one more question for you, Maureen,
Okay.
and I'd like you to finish the sentence.
Okay.
If writing has taught me anything, it has taught me what?
If writing has taught me anything, it taught me patience.
Yeah?
Patience, because you just want to write, get it over with, and then send it to the publisher, right? And make everything perfect and you're happy. But it taught me patience because it's a process. There's going to be heartbreaks, there's going to be joys, and whatever the journey is, embrace it, because writing is an experience.